What is up, guys? Welcome back to the channel and welcome to today's team profile video. For this one, I thought we would focus on our last team from Italy. So without any further ado, let's talk a little bit about the old lady of Italian football, Juventus. Now, looking at the man between the sticks for the Bianconeri, we see Wojciech Szczesny. Now, Szczesny is a great, solid, reliable and defensive goalkeeper. Szczesny is not the type of goalkeeper who looks to reclaim the ball and then recycle it out wide, trying to start attacks from that goalkeeping position. No, instead, Szczesny is the type of goalkeeper who likes to save the ball, likes to hold onto it, while the rest of his teammates get themselves organized, move back into their favorite positions or their roles, and then will look to distribute it. Speaking of the front line, the first player I'd like to talk about will be the defender I think we're going to see on the left side, being Gatti. Now, Gatti is the kind of defender who is very good at reading the game, very good at recycling the ball, very good at covering for others around him. Importantly, I think Gatti has very good chemistry with the players around him. He's the kind of player who knows exactly how the team wants to attack, and he has that no-nonsense Italian style of defending about him, just looking to get the ball into safer areas as soon as possible. At the heart of Juve's defense, I think we will see Bremer. Now, Bremer is a physical, is a strong, a very imposing defender, but Bremer also gives this team a added dimension in terms of attack. A lot of the time we will see Juventus moving forward as a unit, looking to cut the ball back for a player arriving late in the box, either aerially or on the ground, and more often than not, Bremer is the one getting on the end of those chances and converting them into goals from a central defensive position. Alongside Bremer, I think we'll see a player with more of that archetypal Brazilian wingback kind of mentality in Danilo. Danilo is the kind of player who loves to get forward, loves to support the attack, loves to carry the ball along. In Danilo, I think Juventus have a player who still implements a bit of his right back mentality into that centre back role and gives them an added dimension and an added attack option from that defensive line, a player moving out wide, giving them an additional body, a player who can support the attack or who can actually deliver in final balls into the box for somebody to just find an end product. At the base of the midfield, I think we will see young American midfielder McKennie. Now, McKennie is that typical defensive holding midfielder who likes to play as a deep-lying playmaker. A lot of the time we will see McKennie just distributing the ball wherever it needs to go from that little hole in the middle of the pitch, giving him excellent vision all over the pitch, being able to see what is going on and using his awareness to his advantage, trying to play those long balls behind the opposition back line with great accuracy and enough pace so that the wingbacks can get onto it. On the left side of McKennie, I think we will see Locatelli. Now, Locatelli as well is that archetypal defensive midfielder. He's the player that Juve will be looking to break down the opposition attacks, but not necessarily with physical ability. Locatelli will be making use of his ability to read the game and his football intelligence to just predict what the opposition are up to and try to cut it out as soon as he can. Just trying to nullify the attack and then cycle the ball forward so that Juve can counter-attack with a bit of pace out wide. Speaking of the counter-attack, I think the player that Juve will be looking to get the final ball will be Fagioli. Now, Fagioli comes into this team to replace Adrien Rabiot, who's out of contract at Juventus. Rabiot did enjoy playing that central midfield role, but I think in Fagioli they have a player who can play that role, but can also play as an attacking midfielder. This is a player who enjoys linking up with the forward players, enjoys playing that final ball to them so that they can score goals. But I think with Fagioli as well, we're expecting to see him being that player who arrives late in that number 10 playmaker role in between the opposition midfield and their defense to just cause a bit of havoc and to just be able to pull the strings and just orchestrate things like the final ball when the team need him the most. Out wide on the left side of the field, I think we will see Kostic. Now, Kostic is the kind of player who likes to go out, deliver crosses in, but he does have the ability as well to cut in and take shots, scoring great individual goals. But what I really appreciate with Kostic is he's the kind of player who has a lot of patience out wide and has great work rate. He'll come back looking to win the ball back if he has to, but more often than not, we're looking at Kostic and we're seeing a player who likes to play in the space. He likes to attack the open areas of the pitch, and on that left side of the field, he has that entire wing to work with. Kostic is the kind of player who likes to arrive late in the box when Juve are counter-attacking so that he can just slot the ball past the keeper when nobody has even noticed him arriving into the box. On the right side of the midfield, I think we will see Cambiasso. Now, Cambiasso is a defender who's been shifted into this wide role simply so that he can get forward more, support the attack more, be an extra body out wide for the team to pass to, but it's also so that he can cover them defensively. A lot of the time we will see Danilo making those overlapping runs from the right side, and it'll be down to Cambiasso to just keep things solid there, make sure the opposition can't break them down. So in Cambiasso, they have a player who can play both that centre-back role on the right side of the field, but he can also play as a right midfielder. And in Cambiasso, I think Juve also have an untapped player who has a lot of potential in many areas of their formation. Up front, the first player I'd like to talk about has got to be Federico Chiesa. Now, what I like about Chiesa is this is an attacking player who's very, very dynamic. Chiesa loves to get in 1v1 situations with opposition defenses. He just loves beating them with a feint or a quick trick or even his pace. And Chiesa is the kind of player who really relishes being able to beat players and then run in on goal and take shots and score great individual goals. I think when it comes to the two players up front, Chiesa will be the workhorse. He will be the kind of second striker looking to drop into that number 10 role to get some space to work. And he will be the player who is looking to mastermind most of Juve's attacks in the final third. In terms of getting the goals, I think we'll have to look at Dusan Vlahovic. Now, for me, Vlahovic has all of the attributes necessary to be a great goal scorer. He's strong, he's physical, he's quick, he's intelligent. Vlahovic has the ability to finish with headers if the ball is aerial, or he can score with both feet if the ball is played on the ground. My only issue with Dusan Vlahovic is he is a little injury prone, and when he makes his journey through these injuries, when he's coming back through recovery, he really struggles to find his form. But I think in Dusan Vlahovic, Juventus have a number 9 who's just waiting for the opportunity to take European football by storm. So when we look at the tactics used by Juventus, we can see that last season their favorite formation was a flat 3-5-2. This allows them to play with those 3 centre-backs at the back, just giving Wojciech Szczesny some extra cover, and those players would then support the 5 midfielders. A lot of the time we see players like Kostic, Chiesa, Vlahovic and Cambiasso moving the ball out wide, creating holes in the middle of the pitch for these midfielders to run into. But sometimes, because these midfielders are so defensive-minded, players like Locatelli, Fagioli and McKennie and Rabiot when he was there as well, you don't see the players attacking these spaces. You see Juve being a very static team, a team that is not looking for players running off the ball, but rather a team that looks to move as a unit up the field. The problem, though, is when you don't have players attacking these spaces, you then play a very slow and a very defensive style of football, where you kind of have to keep the ball central all the time. And that was what we saw Juve do. We saw the midfielders just passing the ball between them. Now and again, you did see somebody bursting through, breaking the opposition line, trying to just get them sleeping at the back. But unfortunately, Juventus's midfielders had to approach the game with a more defensive mindset because they had major issues at the back. Players like Bremer were injured, Gatti and Danilo also were injured and struggled with form. So it was very difficult for them to have a solid back line, and then it resulted in the midfield having to do additional work. Nevertheless, when this team looks to attack, you'll see the ball moving along the line of that midfield and then just being sprung over the defensive line to Cambiasso or Kostic waiting at the corner flag. Once the opposition then focus their attention on these players out wide, you'll see these holes being formed in the center of the park. And Juve will be looking to get these midfielders now to start attacking these spaces. Chiesa in particular will really relish that role, just moving along the final third of the pitch in that number 10 playmaker role, just looking to carry the ball, looking to poke holes in the opposition defense, but he'll have to do a lot of running. Locatelli, Fagioli and McKennie all have great passing range, great passing ability, and they all understand exactly how to play as that kind of deep-lying playmaker that Juve have always featured in their team. The problem with this is because all of these players are waiting to play the ball, they're not having outlets to play it to, so it makes their passing look a little unimaginative and uninspired. But overall, Juve will just be looking to move the ball forward through the midfield. It'll be down to Kostic and Cambiaso to just spread the ball out wide. It'll be down to Chiesa to carry the ball. And of course, it'll be down to Dusan Vlahovic to get the end product. If Vlahovic can get his form going, Juventus can achieve some very, very important things this season. But it does mean they are a little too reliant on specific players in this setup. In terms of a verdict for the Bianconeri, Juventus showed some massive improvement last season in the Serie A. They improved their final place on the last day of the season, moving from 7th in the previous season to 3rd last season. Also improving their total points tally from 62 points in the previous season to 71 points last season. There was, however, a massive decline in the amount of wins, but also a decline in the amount of losses, which meant, unfortunately, an increase in the amount of draws. This, I think, will be something in particular that Juve will be looking to remedy. Now that they have their players back, they have a full-strength squad, they're looking to now transition quicker and win more matches. Unfortunately, Juve did not feature in any of UEFA's competitions last season, so no Champions League, no Europa League, and no Europa Conference League either, which meant they could just focus on things domestically. And while they did improve in the Serie A, their major success came in the Coppa Italia, where the Bianconeri were triumphant in the final over Atalanta to lift the crown. This was great improvement over the previous season, where they were knocked out in the semi-final stage by eventual winners Inter Milan. In terms of a verdict and an analysis for this team, I think defensively, Juve are very strong centrally, but they lack a lot of depth. This becomes highlighted when players like Gatti, Bremer and Danilo are injured, and the Bianconeri then are trying to just plug holes in their defense with anybody, and it just does not look good. They have very strong goalkeepers, but because their centre-backs are injury-prone, it makes the goalkeepers look very poor because they're under constant pressure. So from me, in terms of the defense, Juventus get a 3 out of 5. In terms of the midfield, again, they look very solid centrally, and everybody understands their role is just to win the ball and play as a deep-lying playmaker to just move the ball forward. I think specifically looking at the midfield as well, I think Juve have too many defensive midfielders. With Adrian Rabiot leaving, they've lost an attacking option, and bringing Douglas Luiz in from Aston Villa, I think, does kind of solve the problem, but I think he's going to need a bit of time to get things going in the Serie A. And I think Douglas Luiz as well is a very static kind of midfielder. I'm not going to be seeing him doing a lot of running off the ball, looking to get goals. So I think going forward, the midfield suffers, but centrally in terms of keeping things stable and solid, they're fine. So out of 5, Juve get a 4 from me in the midfield department. Up front, Federico Chiesa and Dusan Vlahovic have the potential to work very well together, but they struggle to get any chemistry going. A lot of the time, Vlahovic is inconsistent, and Chiesa seems to be quite injury-prone, and this is a major issue that Juventus had last season, where without Chiesa, they really struggled. I think specifically, Juve need a player in that number 10 role who can also double as a centre-forward or a winger, just to give them a bit more depth up front. In terms of a replacement for Vlahovic, they do have Milik available, a player who can get you goals, but in terms of that workhorse or that creative mind, I think they just have Chiesa. And this in particular is where a player like Paulo Dybala would have been so good for the Bianconeri. Nevertheless, from me, up front, Juve get another 3 out of 5, bringing them to a nice roundel total of 10 out of 15 from me. In terms of a forecast for the upcoming season, I think Juve will be looking to do one better than last season and improve, going from 3rd to 2nd in the Serie A. I think winning the Scudetto is just a little bit too much of a stretch for the Bianconeri right now. In terms of the UEFA Champions League, I'm expecting to see Juve at least in the round of 16. Obviously, that is heavily dependent on the group that they're in and the teams that they draw in the knockout stages. But overall, this is a team that I think has enough chemistry, enough craft, and enough determination to at least make it through the group stages of the Champions League. In terms of the Coppa Italia, I'm expecting to see Juve go all the way to the final to defend their crown. I think this is a team that can, again, repeat that success against Atalanta in the final year. So I do expect to see Juve at least lifting the Coppa Italia. And finally, in the Supercoppa, Juve have been drawn against AC Milan, and I'm expecting to see them make it to the final. I think Milan is a good test of this team to test their determination, their character, and their fighting spirit. And I think Juve should at least make it to the final of the Supercoppa. All in all, I think when we look at this Juventus team, we can see that they have specific elements missing. Firstly, that number 10 playmaker is something that I think they really need. And I think in particular this team was built around Paul Pogba. And obviously with Paul Pogba's ban from European football due to doping, Juventus have really suffered. I think they're missing that player who's willing to run in the middle of midfield, a player who's flexible enough to play multiple roles, who's adaptable enough to be able to fit in wherever, but still be able to give them a bit of an edge when it's necessary. And I think Juve really need to go back and look at the players they're bringing in particular and find somebody just to solve that problem. Otherwise, I think Juve will always be a team that is fighting for second spot in Italy. Hi, thank you for making it to the end of this video. We really appreciate the watch time and the fact that you took some time out of your day to spend it with us talking about the sport that we all love. If you enjoyed the content, why not, drop a like down below or comment in the comment section. Maybe even consider subscribing to the channel. And I mean, while you are here right now, have a look at some of our old videos too. They should be appearing on the screen right now, along with that subscribe button. So you know exactly what to do. Thank you so much. It really helps with the YouTube algorithm. And have a great day out there. And we hope to see you again very soon. Thanks. Stay safe.